Thank you, Bree. Bree has a very important job, responsibility. At the monastery, the role is called Jiki-jitsu. And Jiki-jitsu means the one who is straight and vertical in the practice all day. Other people may fall down, but they cannot. And I really appreciate Bree's practice because it's always, for the community here in Seattle, inadvertently been Jiki-jitsu. This time is Mondo. Mondo is dialectical. So you can, like someone said, well, if you got down to the most simplest terms, what is this? And I said, have you ever seen Beat the Priest on Saturday Night Live? It's relative to that. So you can ask questions. I prefer not philosophical questions because Buddhism is not a philosophy, it's a way of being, as Bree stated during the meditation. And fire away, we have until noon. And you can raise your hand to be recognized, and then, hi.
Hello. Thank you. Thanks, Bruce. What do you do? What do you do when your brain is like really just kind of unsettled? Feels like you have little fireflies like flying around in your mind when you're trying to meditate. Like, what is there? You just let it be that way. Like, how do you address that? How do you get to the better place or the more calm place?
In practice, there's things that we do that to honestly take command of the attention, because the mind is always doing what it's doing. It's running its own ops, functionally. And so the idea is, how do I establish direct alert connection with attention and direct the attention kind of like to the right hemisphere, quite frankly. And so the methods we use are mantra. Mantra literally means that which protects the mind from its own natural negativity, because that's what it is. The mind needs us to suffer, so it has a reflection of itself. And so I mean, at the monastery we have these very short mantras like Namo Dai Bo Sa, or in the Tibetan lineage, the one I tend to use a lot is I'll say like Om Ma Hum Bezaguru Bama Sada 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 Om. And so also with the mantra, you can also use the mala. In the mala, you can put your attention in the mala. So Om Ma Hum. So you also have the tactile. Some people use a stone. But the Om Ma Hum Bezaguru Bama Sada Om Ma Ha Bezaguru Bama Sada Om Ma Ha Bezaguru Bama Sada. And so what you're doing is, when you start to do that, the attention becomes a lot clearer. Some people use koans, like the easiest one for most people to pick up is what is this? Another method is counting the breath. So you count traditionally in Zen world, that's normally the first practice. You just count 1 to 10, counting the inhalations. And then when you realize you're at 2,224, you just return to 1, and you go back into the cycle. Because that, there's a psychologist, he calls it Jonathan Goodman something, he's from Stanford, but he calls it mind wandering, that the attention, the awareness, it kind of wanders away, and you have to just bring it back, but not be mean or gruff or criticize oneself.
Thank you.
Hey. Which is Japanese for yes, we're just kind of traditional. Or Ram Dass, because Mike was talking about it earlier. His was, even up to the point that he was dying, he would have his Tulsi seed mala, and Ram Dass was saying, I am loving awareness, I am loving awareness. And that whole practice helped him through his own anxiety, and as it related to his death, his non-beingness, that's how he managed his process. Yes, that you have a connection with. And that's important too, to personalize the practice, because here's where I start criticizing. Too much of the time, people are picking up practices that don't authentically resonate with their nature and who they are, and then beat up on themselves and criticize themselves. Oh, I am the worst meditator. Oh my God! Like when I lived at a particular monastery, one of my Dharma brothers, one of the other monks, he found out that I was chanting in my head the Heart Sutra, and he said, "Seiho, you're not supposed to chant the Heart Sutra. You are just." And I said, that's really weird, because Roshi said it was okay and told me to do it. You see what I'm saying? Because, and this was with Luishitsuedo Shimano Roshi. So he was very in the know of the practice. He's like, Seiho doesn't even understand what the word mu means in the context of our culture, but he does understand the Heart Sutra. And so that was my practice, and that's what I used for the longest time. So people have to use tools that authentically resonate. There's no glory in accepting practices or taking up practices where you just end up battling with yourself. Like people battle sometimes over the chair. Like, well, you sit on zabutons and those pillow cushions, and you can do Burmese, or sometimes, like, if my knees are good, I can do full lotus. I want to look like you. I'm like, this isn't about looking. This is about the actual practice. And so your body, it may not be made for a meditation cushion. Your body may be made for a chair or a seiza bench or something like that. So some people have to practice standing up, but you have to adjust the practice is. The key point is, what is the relationship with the attention? And is it in the actual practice, when you really get down to it, like once you stabilize the attention, that's why you use the mantra and things like that, so it's attention stabilization. Then the practice after that is just notice what's actually happening without going away from the noticing. And you're with reality. We're never out of reality, but we don't usually notice it because there's so much intrusive thought kind of jumping in and categorizing, narrating, and all of that. And that's used to kind of keep us as human beings as meat puppets in service to it. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but whatever your mantra is, whatever you choose, except Arby's and it tastes great, that might not work out. Just make you hungrier. Eric.
Thinking about not really complacency, but how to, and this I guess could come from anybody, like strategies and ways to develop consistency in practice, because I do have the value of maintaining that, and it works for me, but my mind can easily take me off track without even realizing it and get out of consistent practice. And I guess if that is either just sitting or like even other ways, and I do a lot of walking meditation, but it's kind of like almost a cop out for me when I think about it. So just trying to see how to maintain the consistency of practice.
To maintain consistency in practice is stop listening to the mind. Because you said something interesting, and so this is why I'm so happy to be here, because this is the opportunity in the mondo, in the dialogue. It's not our mind. It's the mind. It's a mind, and it is not. That's the point of the book of with Ian McGilchrist, the emissary and the master, because the emissary, the mind, becomes the master. It puts itself in the seat of control, and so it makes these suggestions. It sounds kind of like me, and I kind of do like that. Go out, get a bag of Swedish fish. It's only $1.78. You're away from the East Coast. Your friends aren't going to know and figure it out. You know, surely by the time you get back, and instantly, if my attention bonds to the narrative, that's exactly what it wants. The mind is walking around with an electric spaghetti gun, trying to see what sticks. And if anything sticks, it knows what sticks by what the attention locks to. So the simplest thing that I could say is like in Choboji, when the bell rings, sit. When the bell rings at the end and there's get up. And if it's one clap, it's kinhin. And no hesitation. Don't hold back. And any holding back, it's like almost a gap. That's where thinking mind is instantiating itself. And it's trying to use these, is it like vice grips or reverse vice grips? Where it's trying to open the space so it can seize that dominance. It seems evil and negative. It's not. It thinks it's actually protecting us. It's doing a lot of work to manage us. And if we actually have those conversations with it, we'll discover it thinks that we're very irresponsible people. So the other thing that we can do is have a written on a piece of paper, these are the things that I'm definitely going to do. And just do them without hesitation, negotiation. Don't say, oh, well, I only have 30 minutes left. I'm not going to be able to do it for 60 minutes like go to the gym. Still go. It's going through, it's forming the habit energy in the process of doing it. And so what happens over time is that becomes our natural sort of default. So here's a practice that seems not like meditation, but it actually turns out to be. Somehow to awareness, the intuitive right hemisphere side, the person will drift into consciousness. Haven't thought about the person, I have no contact with the person. I know it's not coming, I name my left hemisphere turd, because it's just always posting like negative stuff all the time to me, and wants me to read and scroll over everything it's saying. But I'll wake up and somebody will be in consciousness. It'll be a person. And I used to I go through all the things. Instead of going through that, I would just directly pick up the phone and I would text them if it was appropriate hour, or call them and just touch base and do relational connection. And so I invite people to listen to the intuition, which is more aligned with our values and who we are, rather than that other side that's like kind of a shady negotiator, and trying to get us to do things that are functionally against our values or what we're actually intending for ourselves. The punchline to all of this is the goal of the mind, as it turns out, is it deliberately, the left hemisphere needs us to suffer. And the reason why it needs us to suffer more than experience pain is that's the only way that it honestly has a reflection of itself. Whereas the right hemisphere is contextual, it's very abstract, it's samadhi, you're not divided in any way to your experience. You're basically in a flow state. When we're in a flow state, the left hemisphere cannot recognize itself, and so it's operating under an assumption that it might be dead. And so it creates churn so that it has a sense that it's alive. And so that's the purpose that the suffering serves to the left hemisphere. So, and it's not mean, it's just, it doesn't want to die. It wants to know that it's here. Is that helpful? We have 8 minutes. It's okay to be vulnerable.
One more thing.
Hey.
And I don't know how, just want your perspective.
Mm.
I don't really try to like proselytize meditation necessarily, but I do try to bring it up to other people that it can be helpful. You know, a lot of people that are in active addiction or in recovery, but also a lot of people that have a lot, like pretty acute anxiety issues or schizophrenia,
Mm.
like psychotic disorders,
Mhm.
find it very difficult to, they find it very difficult a lot of the time to do traditional zazen or sitting meditation. Wanted to get your perspective on that, maybe, if you have any experience with that.
Oh, 1,000%. So this is a very interesting point because at the monastery, in terms of Zen, we're very careful with people because when you're doing zazen, it's straight ahead. It's don't move. Maintain the posture. Whatever that practice is that you're doing, do that practice. And so it's very private because you really don't know what they're doing. Like when I first went to the monastery, I was like, honestly, because I didn't really meditate, so it was so painful at DBZ. The sits were 50 minutes long, and we would sit for 3 hours at night. We were sitting a minimum of 6 hours a day, sometimes during sesshin about 17 hours a day. So I was like in my head, and they were saying, do this. And I was baking cakes. I was watching episodes of The Brady Bunch. I was trying to figure out what was going on between Jan and Greg or Marcia and Greg. I was doing all these things. I was running episodes of Father's Knows Best, and I'll start to tell you what my age is like. And then I went to Roshi and I said, all these things are happening, and he said, well, why don't you consider guided meditations? And so back then we had tapes and audios and stuff like that, or in Dharma talks, in teishos. And so what I would do is I would start doing that. And that's one of the things that I really love about Dharma punks and refuge recovery and Theravadan practice is that there's a strong tendency towards guided meditation, so you don't have the sense of being locked in. You're following a story. All you have to do is pay attention and be with the narrative. And that's why, Bree being Jikijitsu today, she is a very good meditation teacher, instructor. Like there's people who can teach how to meditate, kind of how to do the practice, and then there are people who are artistic with the practice where when they're giving you the guide, it's there's that embodiment piece. And so doing guided meditation, that's what I recommend, especially for people who have anxiety, mental health challenges, or use something. And here's where it even gets scarier. I had a person who said, the only time my head goes nowhere is when I'm free rock climbing. I said, well, I hope like hell your head's not going anywhere. You don't want to be baking cakes then, bro. So trust me, you'll be gone. And he said, but it's not like you. I'm not pretzeled up. I'm not in the posture of the Buddha. I'm like, that's ridiculous. You're in service to an idea. So for some people, like I've been to 1,000 meetings, literally, where there's that person doing crochet or macrame. I honestly don't know the difference, but there's needles going and there's things happening and they're churning things out. So it's awesome. Hope I earn a scarf someday. But that said, there are people who play guitar, and that's a very active meditation. But the idea behind the ultimate meditation practice is where there's no distance, there's no space, there's no time, there's samadhi. There's undivided awareness. It's just this. and without negotiating for something else. And so those are acceptable. And so Buddha's literal response to that was he used this expression, but it meant more than that. Because he was like kind of like shorthanding, where he said there are 4 postures. So there's the sitting, there's the lying down, there's standing, and there's walking. So if, this being the Pacific Northwest, if you went out on a hike, that would be a form of meditation. As a matter of fact, when I met John and Bree back in the day, incarnation, I think it was Rebel Saints Go Marching or something like that. We were doing something, but we were going on hikes and stuff, and it was so beautiful, and it was such an intimate, lovely time. I have a lot of great experiences from that, but those are valid forms of meditation, so it's not always being in the formal Burmese or Lotus or this or that. And I recommend that for people who are struggling, because the idea is, if we're too in service to an idea, that's problematic. And what we really could be in service to is the elimination of suffering. That's what I'm in service to.
12 p.m. on the dot.
The monk rolls. I'm a high roller. Thank you. So we'll take a break. It's 1 hour. Please be back promptly. We'll start into the second half, and there will be more opportunities for Mondo and meditation practice. I invite you to not just chitter-chatter about the price of eggs or honestly, this is going to be tough, and this is going to seem hard, or what's going on in terms of what's on blast in social media. The invitation is going out with people and talking about your authentic experience without shielding. You know, what's the anxiety? What's honestly what's been burning you up, or perplexing you or vexing you, and having these authentic conversations, because this Ichigo, this is one time, one practice. I may never be here again. You know, I could be dead. You could be dead. We don't know. I have a friend, Tabitha. She had 19 years clean. She found out she had cancer 2.5 months ago, and she died last Saturday. And she's 50 years old. She wasn't planning on dying.